Hello, sleepy soul. The night is quiet, the world is asleep, and something is waiting in the dark. Before we begin, subscribe to the channel and write your country and current time in the comments. Now listen carefully. The city sounded different after midnight. Not quieter, just more honest. Rain tapped against my apartment windows in uneven little patterns, like fingernails deciding whether to come in. Neon signs bled across the glass from the Korean grocery downstairs. Red, blue, red again. My room changed colors with every passing taxi. I had moved there 3 months after Daniel left. That was the version people accepted, the clean version. The truth was that I had moved there after I stopped recognizing myself in mirrors. After years of being corrected, softened, blamed, edited. Daniel never hit me. That was the part that made people tilt their heads and wait for a worse sentence. He just made me smaller in all the ways that never photograph well. He called it sensitivity. He called it overreacting. By the end, I apologized to furniture when I bumped into it. So I moved to a narrow apartment above a laundromat in a city where nobody knew my name, and I tried to rebuild a life from small things. A chipped blue mug, a second-hand lamp, a dating app one downloaded and deleted 6 times. A plan I kept alive out of spite. Most nights, I sat by the window with cheap tea cooling in my hands, listening to the building breathe. Pipes clicking, radiator hissing, someone's television mumbling through the wall, the refrigerator humming like a tired insect. Loneliness has a sound. It is not silence. It is everything you hear when no one is speaking to you. I met Mara in a cafe during a rainstorm. That sounds too delicate, too designed. But that is how it happened. The cafe was called the Velvet Hour, although nothing inside was velvet except the music. Soft jazz floated from hidden speakers. Old brass lamps glowed over dark wood tables. The windows were fogged with breath and weather, and every person inside looked like they were hiding from something. I was trying to work. Really, I was staring at an empty document, pretending my hands did not shake when my phone buzzed. Daniel had sent another message. Just checking if you're alive. Then another. You always do this. Then, I hope your new life is worth it. I turned the phone face down. A woman at the next table glanced over, not at the phone, but at me. She had short black hair tucked behind one ear, a gray coat damp at the shoulders, and the kind of stillness that made her seem older than she looked. Calm, present, like she had learned not to waste movement. Bad weather for starting over, she said. I remember that exactly. Not bad weather. Not long day. Bad weather for starting over. I laughed because I didn't know what else to do. Is it that obvious? She stirred her coffee slowly. Only to people who have done it. That was Mara. She did not push. She did not ask too much at first. She offered attention in a way that felt like warmth without pressure. We met again the next week. Then the week after that. Soon she became part of the city's rhythm. Thursday evenings at the Velvet Hour. Voice notes at midnight. Photos of rainy sidewalks. Messages that arrived exactly when I needed them. You eating today? Lock your door. The 3rd floor hallway light is out again. Don't answer him. You owe silence to people who used your words as weapons. She understood things without explanation. At first, I thought that was friendship, or healing, or luck. I wanted to believe it. There is a hunger that follows emotional abuse. Not dramatic, not loud, just a quiet starvation for someone to notice you accurately. To say the thing you have not found language for yet. Mara did that. She remembered I hated orange peel and tea. She remembered I slept with one lamp on. She remembered that I could not listen to piano covers of old pop songs because Daniel used to play them while ignoring me. You told me, she said, when I looked surprised. Maybe I had. I was telling her so much in those days. Trauma makes you porous. Everything leaks out. One night, while rain dragged silver lines down the cafe window, she slid a little paper bag across the table. Inside was a lemon candle. My favorite brand. The exact one I used to buy in my old neighborhood before I moved. I saw it and thought of you, she said. My throat tightened. That's weird, I said. I've been trying to find this scent. I know. She smiled. Not wide. Just enough. I told myself it made sense. Maybe I had mentioned it. Maybe she saw an old post. Maybe I had become the kind of person who forgot what she confessed. After Daniel, my memory had holes in it. Not empty holes. Noisy ones. I misplaced days. Conversations. Promises. I found myself standing in grocery aisles holding something I didn't remember choosing. My therapist said the brain sometimes survives by blurring the edges. So when Mara knew small things, I let the explanations come. She was observant. She cared. I was overthinking. The first Real crack appeared on a Tuesday at 1:14 a.m. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. The room was dark except for the strip of neon crossing my ceiling. Rain whispered at the glass. Somewhere below, a garbage truck groaned and reversed, beeping into the wet street. Mara had sent a voice note. Her voice was low, sleepy. "You're awake again." I sat up. My apartment was silent except for the fridge. I looked toward the door, then the window, then back at the phone. Another message appeared. "Don't spiral. Breathe. Count the red taxis." A red taxi passed beneath my window. Then another. I did not answer. My hands felt cold. In the morning I texted her. "How did you know I was awake?" She replied 20 minutes later. "Because you always are when it rains hard." Then, "And you told me about counting taxis, remember?" I stared at the message while coffee burned on the stove. I did not remember telling her that. Counting taxis was something I had done after Daniel and I fought. I used to sit on the bathroom floor with the shower running, so he wouldn't hear me cry. From the tiny frosted window, I could see the street. Red taxis meant I would stay. Yellow meant I would leave. A stupid private ritual. A childish little bargain with traffic. I had never told anyone, not even my therapist. But memory is unreliable when someone has spent years making you doubt it. So I let Mara's explanation settle over me like dust. Maybe I had told her. Maybe grief had loosened my mouth. Maybe I wanted to be known so badly I had forgotten the cost. After that, the details became sharper. She sent me a playlist titled "For the Walk Home." The first song was one Daniel used to hum when he was angry. Not sing. Hum. 3 notes. Over and over. Soft enough to deny. I deleted the playlist. At the Velvet Hour, Mara ordered for me before I arrived. Chamomile tea. No honey. Side of shortbread. "You always pick around the chocolate ones," she said. I had never eaten cookies with her. A week later, she asked, "Do you still sleep on the left side of the bed?" My spine tightened. "What?" She looked up from her cup, innocent and steady. "You mentioned it after the breakup." "No," I said softly. "I didn't." For the first time, something passed across her face. Not guilt. Correction. Like I had mispronounced a word in a language she owned. "You were tired that night," she said. "You don't remember everything you say." It was gentle. That made it worse. I wanted to leave, but the rain was heavy outside and my umbrella was broken. The jazz kept playing, a saxophone sliding through the cafe like smoke. I watched her reflection in the window instead of her face. In the glass, she looked like someone sitting inside my life. Not beside it, inside it. I started changing routines. I took a different train, bought coffee from a different place, stopped posting on Instagram, turned off location sharing, though I had never knowingly turned it on. For 2 days, Mara said nothing. Then on Friday night, my phone buzzed while I stood in a pharmacy aisle under fluorescent lights, holding a bottle of lavender sleep spray. "Mara, that one gives you headaches." I looked around. No one was watching. A mother argued softly with a child near the cough syrup. A security camera blinked above the exit. Rainwater shone on the tiles near the automatic doors. I typed, "Are you here?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "No, just know you." I left without buying anything. That night, I checked my phone settings until sunrise. App permissions, login activity, connected devices, social accounts, email forwarding. I searched phrases I barely understood. Metadata, spyware, SIM swap, cloned voice. Fake login alerts. At 4:37 a.m., I found an email filter in my account. It forwarded messages containing Daniel's name, my therapist's name, and the word lease to an address I did not recognize. The address was meaningless. A string of letters. No name. My heartbeat became loud enough to hear. Outside, rainwater ran through the gutter in a steady metallic rush. Upstairs, floorboards creaked once. Then again. I changed every password. I enabled two-factor authentication. I deleted the filter. At 4:52 a.m., Mara texted, "You're panicking. Please don't shut me out." I dropped the phone. It landed face down on the floor. The buzz came again. "I only wanted to keep you safe." That was when fear became physical. Not a thought, a temperature, a hand pressing between my shoulders. I did not respond. I backed up until I hit the kitchen counter and stood there listening to my refrigerator hum. For 10 minutes, nothing happened. Then someone knocked softly on my apartment door. Not hard, not dramatic. 3 gentle taps, like a friend. I did not move. The hallway light buzzed through the crack under the door. I could see a shadow interrupting it. Shoes. Still. Patient. My phone lit up on the floor. "Please open the door." I stopped breathing. Another message. "I know you're scared. I'm not Daniel." That was the line that broke something open. Because Daniel used to say that. Not exactly, but close. I'm not the villain here. I covered my mouth with both hands. The shadow remained. Then, from the other side of the door, Mara's voice came soft and low. "You don't have to be alone in this." My body wanted to obey. That was the most frightening part. Not because I trusted her, because some wounded part of me still wanted the comfort she had trained me to expect. I called 911 with shaking fingers and whispered my address. By the time police arrived, the hallway was empty. There was no sign of forced entry. No crime really, just a scared woman and a friend who had come to check on her. That is how the officer's face looked. Polite, tired, unconvinced. "Block her," he said. I nodded. I did not sleep. The next morning, there was a paper cup outside my door. Chamomile tea. No honey. On the lid, written in black marker. "I forgive you." I took photos. I kept the cup. I stopped going to the Velvet Hour. I stopped walking home the same way. I bought a cheap camera detector online and found nothing. I checked the smoke alarm, the outlets, the lamp, the plant pot. Nothing. For 3 days, Mara disappeared. No texts, no calls, no voice notes. The silence should have helped. Instead, it expanded. Every sound became her. The elevator cables groaning, a cough in the stairwell, a phone buzzing on the table in another room. At night, I heard music through the wall. Soft jazz. The same kind of cafe played. I pressed my ear to the plaster and could not tell which apartment it came from. On the 4th day, Daniel emailed me. Subject, stop. The message was short. "Whatever game you're playing with your friend, leave me out of it." She sent me voice notes of you crying. "I don't know what you want from me." There were attachments. 3 audio files. I sat at my kitchen table while gray morning light filled the room and played the first one. My own voice came through the speaker. Broken. Whispering. I miss who I was before him. A pause. Rain in the background. Then Mara's voice, gentle and close. "You can tell me anything." The second file was worse. Not because of what it contained, because of what it didn't. A voice that sounded like mine said, "Daniel, I still think about you." I had never said that. The intonation was close, but wrong. Too smooth. Too clean. My sadness without breath. AI. Voice cloning. A stranger wearing my throat. I ran to the bathroom and vomited. Afterward, I sat on the cold tile and listened to the bathroom fan rattle overhead. A memory returned then. Small. Almost useless. At the Velvet Hour, months earlier, Mara had asked me to read something aloud from her phone. "Just this paragraph," she'd said. "I like your voice." It had been an article about grief. I read it while she watched me with her chin resting on her hand. I had laughed after. "Why are you looking at me like that?" She said, I'm memorizing you. I thought she meant it kindly. I wanted to believe it. I opened every old conversation between us. Slowly, a map appeared. Mara had not asked questions. She had seeded them. A message about favorite childhood songs. A comment about old passwords disguised as a joke. A casual, "Your mother calls you Lenny, right? My name is Elena. Only my mother called me Lenny." My mother had died when I was 19. I had never told Mara that nickname. I found the source 2 hours later. An old Facebook post from my aunt. 9 years old. Public. "Happy birthday, Lenny. Your mom would be proud." Mara had not guessed me. She had researched me. Then she had fed the research back in pieces, disguised as intimacy. I called a cybersecurity hotline recommended by the police department. The man on the phone told me to preserve everything. Screenshots, emails, headers, device logs, login locations. He told me not to confront her. "People like this," he said carefully, "often escalate when they lose access." People like this. The phrase sat in the room with me. By evening, I had made a folder called Mar_evidence. It looked absurd on my desktop, too clean for something so dirty. Inside were screenshots, recordings, photos of the teacup, email headers, unknown logins from 3 different cities, dating app messages from profiles I had matched with and abandoned. Men who had asked strangely specific questions. "Do you sleep with the TV on? What scares you most about being alone? Ever use the name Lenny?" All different profiles. Same punctuation. Same calm, patient grammar. I began to understand then. Mara had not entered through one door. She had built many. The next discovery came from her laptop. Not by bravery, by accident, or fate, or whatever name we give to terror when it leaves evidence. Mara texted me from a new number that night. "Meet me once. Public place. Bring the laptop I left at your apartment." I stared at the message. Her laptop. 2 weeks earlier, she had come over to watch a film. She left a slim silver laptop under my couch. I had found it the next morning and texted her. She said she would grab it later. Then everything had happened, and I forgot. It was still there, under the couch, waiting. I should have given it to police unopened. I know that now. But fear makes you reckless in ways courage never does. I charged it. The lock screen showed a rainy street. No password hint. But when it woke, the cursor blinked in an open notes app. A document titled E/L, current phase. My skin went cold. There were bullet points. Not many. Enough. Sleep disruption successful. Daniel reactivation unstable. Cafe withdrawal expected. Potential police contact. Frame as trauma response. Attachment dependency weakening, but not broken. Under that was a folder path. Recordings. I clicked. Hundreds of files. Audio from cafes. Audio from phone calls. Audio from inside my apartment. Some were labeled by date. Some by mood. Crying after Daniel email. Laughing real. Kitchen 2:13 a.m. Night breathing. I could not move. The refrigerator hummed behind me. Rain tapped the windows. A siren wailed somewhere far away and then dissolved into traffic. I opened one file. My apartment at night. My own breathing. The soft buzz of my phone. Then a whisper. Not mine. Still here. I slammed the laptop shut so hard the room seemed to jump. For a long time I sat in complete stillness. Then I heard it. A floor creak in the hallway. One slow step. Then another. My phone lit up. "Mara, you shouldn't look through things that aren't yours." I grabbed the laptop, my coat, and the evidence folder on a flash drive. I left through the fire escape because I could not make myself open the front door. The metal stairs were slick with rain. Cold air bit my face. Neon shattered in puddles below. My shoes slipped twice, and each sound seemed too loud. At street level I ran. Not gracefully, not cinematically. I ran like someone who had spent too long being polite to danger. The police station smelled like wet wool, burnt coffee, and old paper. This time they listened. Maybe because of the laptop. Maybe because of the forwarded emails. Maybe because I was shaking so badly the officer asked if I needed medical help. A detective named Alvarez took my statement in a small interview room with buzzing lights. She did not interrupt. She did not tell me to calm down. She put each piece of evidence in a bag and labeled it carefully. When I said Mara's full name, Alvarez looked up. What did she say her last name was? Voss. The detective's face changed. Not much. Enough. Mara Voss was not Mara Voss. That identity belonged to a woman in Oregon who had reported identity theft 2 years earlier. The person I knew had used at least 4 names in 3 cities. She found people after breakups, divorces, deaths, moves. People with public grief. People with thin support systems. She entered gently, helped, listened, collected. Then she became necessary. Then she became everywhere. Not always romantic, not always financial. Sometimes, Alvarez said, it seemed like she wanted to author people, to rewrite their lives with herself at the center. There were other victims. A teacher in Portland, a nurse in Denver, a graduate student in Chicago who had moved twice and stopped using social media completely. All women, all isolated, all convinced, at first, that they had found someone who understood them better than anyone ever had. The arrest happened 2 days later. Not at my apartment, at the Velvet Hour. She was sitting at our old table, beside the fogged window, listening to soft jazz while rain blurred the street outside. She had ordered 2 teas, chamomile, no honey. When police approached, she did not run. The detective told me that later. She asked if you were safe, Alvarez said. I laughed when she told me. Not because it was funny, because my body had no better sound for it. I saw Mara once after that, through courthouse glass during a preliminary hearing. Her hair was shorter, her face bare. She looked smaller without context, without rain, without candlelight, without the careful stage of concern she had built around herself. But when she turned and found me, her expression softened. Not with shame, with recognition, as if we still shared something private, as if she had the right. Her lawyer whispered to her, but she kept looking. I looked back. I wanted to feel powerful. I didn't. I felt watched. That is the part no one tells you about surviving. The danger can leave and still remain installed inside your attention. Months passed. I moved again. Different building, different locks, no ground floor windows. I changed my number, closed accounts, deleted photos, stopped using my mother's old nickname anywhere, even in my head. At night, I still heard things. The refrigerator, the pipes, footsteps that were only upstairs neighbors, a phone buzz that sometimes wasn't there. Rain still made the windows speak. But slowly, my life returned in fragments. A new cafe with brighter lights. A therapist who taught me that privacy is not secrecy. A friend from work who did not ask for my trauma as proof of intimacy. A plant on the windowsill. Another blue mug. Some mornings, I could stand in front of the mirror and see a person. Not all of her. Enough. Daniel stopped emailing after the police contacted him. I do not know what he believed. I stopped needing him to believe anything. Mara had known so much about me. My routines, my passwords, my grief, my mother's nickname, the way I breathed in my sleep. But she had mistaken information for intimacy. That was her failure. And sometimes late at night, when the city turns reflective and every window becomes another possible watcher, I think about how easy it is now to confuse being seen with being understood. A person can learn your habits and never know your heart. They can collect your secrets and still remain a stranger. They can imitate your voice, predict your fear, name your wounds, and call it love. But love does not surveil. Love does not impersonate. Love does not make a home inside your private life and then punish you for changing the locks. Trust is not the absence of boundaries. It is what survives because boundaries exist. And memory is not ownership. No one gets to keep the parts of you they stole, even if they remember them perfectly. Story 2. When Sophie offered me her guest room, I cried in the bathroom at work. Not because I was relieved, because I was too tired to be relieved properly. My divorce had not been dramatic enough for people to understand. There were no police reports, no broken bones, No single night I could point to and say asterisk there. That was the end, asterisk. Ethan destroyed me quietly, with questions, with corrections, with the slow theft of certainty. He would ask where I had been, then show me my own location history like evidence. He would say I remembered things wrong. He would read my face before I spoke and punish the feeling before I could name it. By the time I left, I didn't trust my own memories unless I had written them down. Sophie knew that. She knew most things. We had met 6 months earlier in a divorce support group held above a cafe downtown, where rain streaked the tall windows and soft jazz came up through the floorboards from the restaurant below. I remember her handing me a tissue before I realized I was crying. She had calm eyes, a gentle voice, the kind of sadness that made you feel less alone without asking for anything in return. "You can stay with me," she said after my lease fell through, "just until you find your balance." Balance. That word sounded beautiful then. So I moved into Sophie's old house on Mercer Street with 2 suitcases, a laptop, and the strange shame of needing rescue at 31. The house was narrow and tall, wedged between a closed flower shop and a brick duplex with black iron balconies. The street outside stayed wet that November. Rain tapped against the windows. Neon from the corner pharmacy smeared red and green across the pavement. At night, fog gathered under the streetlights and made every parked car look abandoned. Inside, the house smelled of lemon cleaner, old wood, and something faintly sweet. Vanilla, maybe, or dust trying to seem pleasant. Sophie gave me the upstairs guest room. White walls, iron bed frame, a small desk, a mirror with a crack in the corner. "This room gets cold," she said. "The walls are old." I set my suitcase down. Behind the wall, something knocked. 3 soft taps, then silence. I looked at Sophie. She smiled before I could speak. "Plumbing." It sounded close. "This house complains at night." She said it lightly. I wanted to believe her. So I did. For the first few days, staying with Sophie felt like mercy. She made tea without asking. She lowered her voice when I looked tired. She never asked about Ethan unless I brought him up first. At night, we sat in her kitchen under the yellow light while the refrigerator hummed and rain stitched the windows. She played old jazz from a speaker on the counter, the kind with slow trumpet and soft drums. Music that felt like walking alone through a wet city. "You don't have to explain yourself here," she told me. That sentence entered me like warmth. I should have been careful with how badly I needed it. There was another person in the house too. Cal. Sophie said he was renting the basement studio. "Barely here," she said. "Quiet, helpful, good with repairs." I met him my second night. He came upstairs holding a toolbox, wearing a gray sweater and an expression that knew how not to startle people. "Sorry," he said. "Pipe under the sink again." His voice was soft, not weak, controlled. He looked at me once, then looked away, as if giving me privacy inside my own face. "You must be Nora." I froze. "My name is Mara." He blinked. "Sorry. Sophie told me about a friend named Nora once." "My mistake." Sophie laughed from the kitchen. "I know too many wounded women." It was a joke. I smiled because I did not know what else to do. That night, the knocking came again. 3 taps. Pause. 2 taps. Pause. 1. I sat up in bed. The room was dark except for the green pharmacy light sliding across the ceiling. The radiator hissed beside the window. Somewhere below, a floorboard creaked. I pressed my ear to the wall. A breath. Not mine. Then a whisper. "Mara?" I jerked back so hard my shoulder hit the bed frame. The wall went silent. In the morning, Sophie poured coffee and said, "You look pale." "I heard someone last night." "Ethan?" "No." "In the wall." She did not laugh. That made it worse. "It's the pipes," she said carefully. "Old houses carry sound strangely." It said my name. Sophie's face softened. "Mara." There it was. The tone. The careful one. The one people use when your trauma has become the most convenient explanation. You've been under constant stress for years. Your body is still listening for danger. Maybe she was right. Maybe fear could put language inside plumbing. Maybe I was overthinking. I told myself it made sense. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. A voice note. I played it before thinking. At first, there was only static. Then Ethan's voice. Mouse, stop inventing things. Mouse. My old nickname. My private humiliation. He used it when I was crying, and he wanted me smaller. The cup slipped from my hand and broke on the kitchen floor. Sophie rushed to me. Cal appeared in the doorway almost instantly. Too instantly. What happened? He asked. I showed them the message. Sophie's face went pale. Cal took my phone gently, as if it were injured. Voice cloning is easy now, he said. Old videos, social posts, anything public. I stared at him. How would someone know that nickname? He hesitated. People find things. Sophie touched my arm. You should change your number. Cal looked at me with quiet concern. And stop sleeping with your phone under your pillow. I had never told him I did that. I pulled my arm away. He noticed. I saw the outline, he said. Under the pillowcase when I fixed your radiator. That was reasonable. Too reasonable. I wanted to believe it. So I did. The house became less stable after that. Not physically. Emotionally. Its sounds began arranging themselves into patterns. Soft knocks behind the guest room wall. Footsteps above me when the attic was supposedly locked. A phone buzzing in another room, stopping when I opened the door. Once, at 3:11 a.m., I heard a girl laughing. Not loudly, not happily. A small, breathless laugh from somewhere behind the plaster. Then a voice whispered, "Don't drink the tea." I stopped drinking Sophie's tea after that. I told her caffeine was making me anxious. She looked hurt, not angry. Worse. Of course, she said. You need control right now. That word, control. Ethan used it too. Whenever I made a boundary, he called it control. I began taking notes. Dates, times, sounds, messages. I photographed the guest room wall each morning. I checked the floorboards for dust disturbance. I watched Cal's basement door when I came home from work. At first, nothing changed. Then everything did. A woman came to the house on a Wednesday evening. Rain darkened her coat. Mascara had gathered under her eyes. She stood on the porch holding a phone and looking past me into the hallway. "Is Lila here?" she asked. "No, Lila lives here." She said this was her recovery house. Recovery house? The woman swallowed. She answered my post. Divorce support group. Said she had a safe room. My body went cold. Sophie appeared behind me. "Caroline," she said softly. The woman flinched. "You know her?" I asked. Sophie's smile did not reach her eyes. "She's confused." Caroline looked at me. "Please," she whispered. "Tell Lila I found the bracelet." Sophie stepped forward and closed the door gently but firmly. Then she turned the lock. "Who is Lila?" I asked. "Nobody." She knew this address. "People online are unstable." "She knew you." Sophie's voice lowered. "Mara, you of all people should understand what unstable people can sound like when they need a story." That silenced me. Not because it convinced me, because it was aimed perfectly. Later, I searched Sophie's name. Nothing unusual. Instagram, old wedding photos, a professional profile for nonprofit consulting, a few posts about trauma recovery and mutual aid. Then I searched the address. That was harder. Old listings, renovation permits, a neighborhood forum, a missing person post from 2 years earlier. Nora Vale, 27, last seen leaving a support meeting downtown. The photo loaded slowly. Dark hair, small silver hoop earrings, a green coat. My heart began to hammer. On her wrist was a bracelet, blue beads, the same kind I had seen around Sophie's kitchen cabinet handle, holding a spare key. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Text only. "You found Nora." Then another. "She found the room too late." I stood in the bedroom, listening to the rain. Behind the wall came 3 taps. Then 2. Then 1. I tapped back before fear could stop me. 1, 2, 3. Silence. Then a whisper. "Closet." I opened the closet. Empty hangers. My suitcase. Extra blankets. At the back, beneath a loose strip of trim, I found a folded photograph. 4 young women standing in Sophie's kitchen, smiling, holding mugs. Nora was one of them. Caroline was another. On the back, written in black pen, when she says plumbing, leave. I did not leave. That is the part one still struggle with. People ask why victims don't run at the first clear sign. They imagine danger as a door with a label. They do not understand that danger often wears the face of the person who saved you. I wanted Sophie to be innocent. I wanted my best friend back. So I waited until she left for groceries. Then I searched. Her office was at the end of the hall, always locked. But Cal had left his toolbox in the kitchen. 1 small screwdriver. 1 shaking hand. The lock gave. Inside, the office was immaculate. White desk. Soft lamp. Shelves of labeled folders. No clutter. No life. The laptop was open. The screen woke when I touched the trackpad. A spreadsheet filled the display. Names. Ages. Divorce status. Family distance. Medication notes. Preferred drinks. Nicknames. Social media links. Voice sample sources. Next to my name, Mara Ellis, newly separated, high attachment hunger, distrusts own perception, responds to calm correction. Nickname Mouse. Phrase triggers. Overthinking, safe here. You don't have to explain. I stopped breathing. There were tabs. Nora, Lila, June, Caroline, each with routines, passwords, screenshots, therapy notes, dating app profiles, bank details, emergency contacts. Not rescue. Research. At the bottom of my page was 1 line. Room readiness, pending. Behind me, the floor creaked. Cal stood in the doorway. For once, he did not look gentle. You shouldn't be in here, he said. I backed toward the desk. Where are they? He sighed. Not angry. Disappointed. That frightened me more. You found data and made a horror story out of it. You're using fake profiles. We help women disappear from bad men. Then why are they missing? His face softened again, the mask returning. Mara, some people don't want to be found. Where is Nora? He glanced at the wall. Only for a second, but enough. I ran past him. He grabbed my sleeve. Fabric tore. I screamed. The sound filled the hallway, but the house swallowed it quickly. Old wood, thick walls, rain on windows, jazz from the kitchen speaker turning the moment surreal. Sophie entered through the front door holding grocery bags. For a second, all 3 of us froze. Canned soup rolled across the floor. Sophie looked at the office. The laptop. My face. Then at Cal. You said she wasn't ready. The sentence landed between us like a key. You're part of this, I said. Her eyes filled with tears. Real ones. That made it worse. I gave you somewhere safe. No. You studied me. I loved you. You collected me. Cal stepped forward. She's spiraling. Sophie nodded, but she looked sick. She needs rest. I ran upstairs. Not to my room. To Sophie's bedroom. I don't know why. Instinct maybe. Or the whisper from the wall guiding me through memory. I locked the door and shoved a chair beneath the handle. My phone had no signal. The Wi-Fi showed full bars, but nothing loaded. From the hallway, Sophie spoke softly. Mara, open the door. No. You're scared. Yes. And fear makes you see enemies. No. You said that about Ethan too, didn't you? My hand tightened around the phone. There it was. The same architecture. The same old house built inside language. Your fear is the problem. Your memory is unreliable. Your boundary is violence. Behind the bedroom mirror, something flickered. I turned. The mirror reflected the bed, the rain-streaked window, my own white face. And in the corner of the reflection, a narrow black seam. Not visible directly, only in the mirror. I pushed the dresser aside. Behind it, the wallpaper lifted at the edge. A concealed door. No handle, just a pressure latch. The knocking came from inside. 3, 2, 1. I pressed. The wall opened. The room behind it did not exist on any floor plan. It was narrow and windowless, running between the guest room and Sophie's bedroom like a vein. The air inside smelled of dust, metal, old perfume, and stale fear. A string light clicked on automatically. Shelves lined the walls. Not bodies. Not nightmare theatrics. Things. That was worse. A green coat. A silver hoop earring. A cracked phone. A blue bead bracelet. Driver's licenses. Journals. Hair clips. Makeup bags. Prescription bottles. Student IDs. A child's drawing folded carefully in a plastic sleeve. Missing girls reduced to evidence no one had found. At the far end, behind a panel of wire mesh, someone moved. A young woman. Thin. Pale. Alive. "Nora?" I whispered. She nodded once. Her lips trembled. "Police," she mouthed. A pounding came at Sophie's bedroom door. "Mara," Cal said. "Step away from the wall." I held up my phone. No signal. Nora pointed to the shelves. A small black device blinked behind a row of boxes. A jammer. I pulled it free and smashed it against the floor. My phone lit up. Signal returned. Messages flooded in. Emails. Password resets. Voice notes. A scheduled post from my own account. Asterisk, "I'm sorry. I lied about everything." Asterisk. I called emergency services. Sophie heard the operator's voice. The pounding stopped. Then her voice came through the door. Small now. Almost herself. "Mara, please don't do this. Unlock whatever is holding Nora. You don't understand. Then explain it to the police." Cal hit the door hard. The chair scraped. Nora shook her head frantically. Behind me, a service hatch opened into the crawl space. She pointed. I climbed in. Darkness pressed against my shoulders. Dust filled my mouth. Pipes clicked above me. The house groaned. Behind the wall, Sophie was crying. Or performing crying. I no longer knew the difference. Nora crawled ahead through the narrow passage, moving like someone who had memorized the dark. We emerged behind a loose panel in the pantry. The kitchen was empty. Rain battered the windows. The jazz speaker still played, soft and obscene. Nora's knees nearly gave out when she stood. I grabbed her hand. The front door was 10 feet away. Cal appeared at the basement stairs. He held my phone charger, the one from my guest room. A tiny camera lens glinted inside the plastic. "Mara," he said gently, "think carefully. Once you leave, your life becomes complicated. It already is. You'll be accused too. Your fingerprints are on the office. Your account sent messages. Your voice confirms consent." My phone buzzed in my hand. A voice note from me. My voice. Perfect. I wanted to help Sophie. I knew about the room. AI. Fragments. Old videos. Work calls. Every casual recording turned into a weapon. Nora whispered, "Don't listen." Cal smiled at her. "You've always been dramatic." She folded inward at the phrase. Trained. Conditioned. I stepped between them. No, it was not a heroic word. Just a door closing. Outside, sirens approached. Real sirens. Not distant city sound. Not memory. Real. Sophie came down the stairs behind us. Her face was wet. "I didn't start it," she said. Cal turned sharply. "Stop. I just found people who needed help. You selected them. I was lonely too." He laughed once. Cold. "There it is." The police lights flashed through the front windows, red and blue bending in the rain. Cal moved toward the back door. Nora picked up a ceramic mug from the counter and threw it at the jazz speaker. It shattered. The music died. In the sudden silence, we heard everything. The sirens, the rain, the refrigerator hum, Cal's breathing, my own heart refusing to be quiet. The police found the room within minutes. They found the shelves, the IDs, the phones, the jammer, the hidden cameras, the spreadsheets, the fake dating profiles Sophie and Cal used to identify women who had posted about divorce, isolation, estrangement, recovery, housing instability. They found old voice samples scraped from social media. They found burner phones and cloud backups and drafts of confessions written in other women's names. They found Nora alive. 3 others were traced through the records. 2 were found in different cities, living under false stories Sophie had helped create. One had been told her family stopped looking. Another had been convinced she had committed crimes she could not remember. None of it was supernatural. That was the most frightening part. There was no haunted wall, no cursed room, no monster beneath the house. Just people, patient people, organized people, people who knew that loneliness makes a person grateful for attention. That trauma makes memory fragile. That privacy becomes porous when someone offers safety in a gentle enough voice. Sophie's real name was not Sophie. The detective told me that weeks later in a room with gray carpet and bitter coffee. She has used at least 4 identities, he said. Sophie Lane was constructed. Cal is her brother legally, but we believe he operated the technical side. Surveillance, voice cloning, account access, metadata tracking. What was the point? I asked. The detective looked tired. Control, money, identity fraud, maybe something more personal. Something more personal. That phrase stayed with me, as if there is always a place where crime becomes psychology and psychology becomes hunger. Sophie wrote me 1 letter from jail. I did not open it for 3 days. When I finally did, the first line said, "I really did love you." I burned it in the sink. Not because I was strong, because I was not strong enough to keep it. I moved again. A smaller apartment. No guest room. No shared walls I could not explain. At night, the city still makes its old sounds. Rain tapping glass. Appliances humming. Footsteps above me. Distant sirens threading through fog. Sometimes a cafe down the block plays jazz, and for a second I am back in Sophie's kitchen, watching her pour tea like kindness was not a weapon. I still check walls. I still photograph locks. I still write things down, but I no longer apologize for needing proof. Trust used to feel like being believed without evidence. Now I think trust is different. Trust is someone allowing evidence to exist. Privacy is not secrecy. It is not guilt. It is the space where a self can remain unhandled, unedited, uncollected. A hidden room does not begin behind plaster. It begins the first time someone convinces you that your fear is the problem. The first time they call surveillance care. The first time they learn your wounds and name that knowledge love. I survived because a wall knocked back, because someone trapped inside a story refused to become silent. And because, for once, I listened to the sound my fear was making. Sometimes safety is not peace. Sometimes safety is a locked door, a recorded call, a name written down, a room exposed to light. Sometimes survival begins when you stop asking whether you are overthinking and start asking why someone needs you not to think at all. Story 3. The first message came while Mara was sitting beside me. Not across the city, not outside the cafe. Beside me, close enough that I could smell the vanilla lotion on her hands and hear the soft click of her thumbnail against her coffee cup. Rain pressed against the cafe windows in silver lines. Outside, traffic moved through neon reflections, red and blue lights smeared across the cold street like wet paint. Inside, soft jazz played from ceiling speakers. A trumpet, a quiet brush of drums. The kind of music that made sadness feel expensive. I had been back in the city for 3 weeks. Back, but not home. Home was a word I had stopped trusting after Ben. Ben never hit me. People always seemed relieved when I said that, as if cruelty needed bruises to become real. He controlled in quieter ways. He corrected my memory, edited my tone, read my face before I knew what I felt, and told me I was wrong about it. By the end, I apologized before speaking. I deleted messages out of habit. I kept my phone face down, even when I was alone. When I finally left, Mara came to get me. She drove 3 hours in a thunderstorm, stood in Ben's doorway with wet hair and shaking hands, and said, "Pack what matters. We'll replace the rest." She was my best friend. Since 13. Since braces and bus rides and shared headphones. Since she knew I hated orange candy, but liked orange sunsets. Since she called me Livy when no one else was allowed to. So when my phone buzzed on the cafe table and her name appeared on the screen, I smiled. Mara was beside me, stirring sugar into her coffee. Then I read the message. Mara *, don't trust her. I looked at the screen, then at Mara. She was watching rain slide down the glass, her face soft in the window reflection. My mouth went dry. What? She asked. I locked the phone instinctively. Nothing. The lie came too fast. A survival reflex. She tilted her head. Live. I hated when my body answered fear before my mind understood it. You just texted me, I said. Mara frowned and reached for her phone. It was lying face down beside her cup. No, I didn't. I turned my screen toward her. She read the message. For a second, something passed over her face. Not shock exactly. Something smaller. A shadow behind the eyes. Then she laughed, but softly. That's creepy. Is your phone hacked? Maybe yours is. She picked up her phone and showed me the lock screen. No open messages. No sent text. Could be spoofing. People can fake numbers now. She sounded calm. Too calm. But Mara had always been calm in emergencies. She was the one who carried tissues, chargers, backup plans. She once made a spreadsheet for my breakup because I kept forgetting which bills had my name on them. She was the safe person. So I chose the explanation she offered. Spoofing. A glitch. A cruel coincidence. I wanted to believe it. Outside, a bus hissed at the curb. The cafe lights reflected us in the window. Two women hunched over coffee, one trying to look normal, the other studying her like a problem to solve. That night, my apartment felt too quiet. It was a narrow one-bedroom over a closed bookstore on Kellen Street. The floorboards creaked when the radiators warmed. The refrigerator hummed like an insect trapped in the wall. Rain tapped the fire escape. Somewhere below, distant music throbbed through brick and pipe, softened by the city until it sounded like a heartbeat. I had chosen the apartment because it was small and cheap and mine. But loneliness lives louder in small rooms. At 12:18 a.m., my phone buzzed. Mara *, she knows what you dream about. I sat up in bed. My room was dark except for the blue glow of the screen. I called Mara immediately. She answered on the fourth ring, voice thick with sleep. Liv, what happened? You texted me again. Silence. Then sheets rustling. I didn't. It's from your number. I'm looking at my phone. Nothing sent. My skin prickled. On the other side of the wall, a pipe knocked once. Mara's voice softened. Can you send me a screenshot? I did. She breathed out slowly. Okay, that's not funny. No. Did Ben know my number? Of course he knew your number. Then it's probably him. That explanation landed where it was supposed to. In the old wound. Ben. The obvious monster. The familiar one. Mara stayed on the phone until my breathing slowed. She told me to put on the jazz playlist I used during panic attacks. She reminded me to drink water. She said, "You're not losing it." I cried when she said that, because part of me was always waiting to be accused of exactly that. 2 days later, I met someone named Eli. Not in a meaningful way, in an ordinary way. A dating app. A half-hearted swipe. A profile picture with fog behind him and one hand around a paper coffee cup. His bio said, editor. Night walker. Trying to learn honesty without making it dramatic. His first message said, "You look like someone who listens carefully," because she once had to. I almost deleted the app. Instead, I stared at the sentence until my chest hurt. Then I replied, "That obvious?" He answered, "Only to people who survived similar rooms." Eli became a quiet rhythm. Messages before work. Voice notes after midnight. He never pushed to meet too quickly. He asked careful questions and accepted partial answers. His voice was warm and low, with a slight roughness, like a record played in another room. "You don't owe anyone perfect healing," he said in one voice note. "Especially the people who prefer you broken, because broken is easier to manage." I played that one twice, then deleted it, then recovered it, then hated myself for caring. Mara noticed my mood before I told her. "You're talking to someone," she said one evening in my kitchen. She was chopping onions while I rinsed rice. Rain ticked against the window. The apartment smelled of garlic, damp wool, and the candle she had brought because she said my place needed evidence of living. Maybe. A man? Maybe. She smiled without looking at me. Does he have a name, or is this a witness protection situation? Eli. The knife paused. Only for a second, then continued. Eli what? I don't know yet. Careful. I am. She swept onions into the pan. They always seem gentle at first. It was a fair thing to say. Still, the words slid under my skin. That night, while Mara sat on my couch scrolling through her phone, mine buzzed on the coffee table. Her name again. Mara *, he is not safe. I looked at the message, then at Mara. She was 3 feet away, legs tucked under her, hair falling over one cheek, phone glowing in her hand. What? She asked. I held up my screen. The apartment seemed to shrink around us. The refrigerator hummed. Rain hit the glass. A car passed below, tires cutting through water. Mara stared at the message for a long time. Then she whispered, Liv, I swear to you that wasn't me. Her eyes filled. And that did it. Her fear looked real. Her hand trembled when she handed me her phone. No sent message. No suspicious app open. Nothing. I think Ben is doing this, she said. I wanted that to be true. A known danger is easier than an unknown pattern. So we changed my passwords. Email, banking, cloud, social media, dating app. Mara sat beside me, rubbing circles into her own wrist the way she did when stressed. You should let me handle some of this, she said. You're exhausted. I can do it. I know. Her voice softened. But you shouldn't have to. That sentence should have comforted me. Instead, something in it tightened. You shouldn't have to. Ben used to say that before taking over things, I wanted to manage myself. Still, I handed Mara my laptop. I told myself it made sense. She knew more about security than I did. She was helping. She had always helped. The messages became more personal after that. Mara *, you still sleep with the kitchen light on. Mara *, he knows about the blue sweater. Mara *, ask Eli why his voice sounds different in the third note. Mara *, she is sitting closer than she used to. I stopped sleeping. Not completely. Sleep became a room I could not fully enter. I would drift for 20 minutes, then wake to the radiator clicking, the phone buzzing, the sense that someone had said my name beside the bed. Livy. Once, at 3:04 a.m., I received a voice note from Mara's number. It was Mara's voice. Soft. Close. Don't tell her what you remember. I called her immediately. She answered crying. I didn't send it, she said before I spoke. That was the first time I wondered how she knew. Only for a second. Then she said, I woke up and saw your missed call from earlier. I knew something happened. There was no missed call from earlier. I checked. Nothing. Maybe I had deleted it. Maybe I was exhausted. Maybe I was overthinking. I began to mistrust everyone except Mara. That was the strange part. The messages told me not to trust her, but every time they arrived, she became the person I ran to. Eli noticed. You sound farther away, he said in a voice note. I was walking home from work under a wet black sky, neon signs flashing in puddles. The city felt like a surveillance camera with weather. I'm dealing with something, I replied. Does Mara know? I stopped under the awning of a closed pharmacy. How do you know her name? A pause. Then his text appeared. You mentioned her. The friend who helped you move. Had I? Probably. I told myself it made sense. But the next message came from Mara's number before I could answer. Mara *, he is reading you better than I do. Something cold opened behind my ribs. That night, Mara came over with soup and an overnight bag. I'm staying, she said. You don't have to. I know. She set the bag by the door and looked at me with such steady tenderness that I felt ashamed of every doubt. You are not doing this alone. We ate on the floor because my table was still covered in unpacked books. The room smelled of chicken broth and rain. Soft jazz played from my speaker. My phone lay between us like a sleeping animal. At 10:47 it buzzed. Mara's name. We both looked at it. Mara *, watch her face when she lies. Mara went pale. Liv, don't. I didn't. Don't say it. Her mouth closed. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then her phone buzzed too. She looked down. Her expression shifted. What? I asked. She turned the screen toward me. A text from my number. Me asterisk, I know what you did. My stomach dropped. I didn't send that. I know, she said quickly. Too quickly. I know, but something had changed. The room had divided. Me on one side, Mara on the other. A field of invisible wires between us. The next morning, Eli vanished. His dating profile disappeared. His phone number stopped working. His voice notes remained, but the app showed no account, no thread, no match. Like he had never existed. When I told Mara, she held my hands across the kitchen counter. Maybe that's good, she said. Good. If he was part of this. Part of what? The thing Ben started. You don't know Ben started it. Her grip tightened slightly. Who else would want to make you paranoid? I looked at her. The answer came quietly, unwanted. Someone who benefits when I am afraid. Mara released my hands. Her face folded into hurt. You think it's me? I didn't say that. You didn't have to. The apartment hummed around us. Fridge, radiator, rain, a distant siren moving through morning fog. I wanted to apologize. My mouth even shaped the word. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Check the drawer she told you not to use. Mara saw the message. No, she said. I was already moving. In the hall, there was a small built-in drawer beneath the linen cabinet. Mara had told me it stuck, that the landlord said not to force it. I had accepted that. I had accepted so many small instructions because I was tired and she was sure. The drawer opened on the third pull. Inside was a burner phone, a charging cable, a folded list of my passwords, some old, some new, a printed calendar of my work shifts, screenshots of Eli's profile, and a small audio recorder labeled in black marker. Live, sleep/kitchen/panic. Mara stood behind me, not speaking. I turned. Her face had changed. No tears now, no confusion, just stillness. Mara, I said. She exhaled slowly. You weren't supposed to find that from him. From who? She looked at my phone, then at me. Eli. My throat tightened. Eli is real? Her smile was sad. Not the way you needed him to be. I backed away. She did not move toward me. That was somehow worse. Mara, what did you do? I kept you safe. No, I did. Her voice stayed low, calm, reasonable. You were leaving one man and walking straight toward another pattern. I saw it before you did. You made Eli? I made a filter. You made a person. I made a controlled environment. The phrase was so cold it cut through my fear. Controlled environment. She said it like therapy, like research, like love with paperwork. The police later found the rest. But first there was that kitchen, that rain, that drawer open like a wound. Mara told me because she wanted me to understand. That was always her weakness. She needed to be seen as the good one. After Ben, she had accessed my accounts to help. At first, she said it was practical. Bills, password resets, blocking him, checking if he contacted me. Then she saw how easily people entered my life, how quickly I answered gentleness, how much I wanted to believe in being understood. So she created Eli with an AI voice model and a dating app profile, used photos generated from composite faces, scripted voice notes from things I had once told her, mixed with public posts, therapy phrases, grief forums, and stolen bits of my old journals. She texted me from her number while sitting beside me using scheduled messages, cloned SIM tools, web texting services, burner phones, and remote automation. She sent messages warning me not to trust her, so I would think the threat was outside. So I would run to her. Every time. It worked, she said quietly. That hurt more than if she had shouted. I remembered all the nights I called her shaking, all the times she arrived with tea, all the times she held me while telling me I was not crazy. She had set the fire, then comforted me for choking on smoke. You made me afraid of myself, I said. No, Mara whispered. Ben did that, And you used it. Her eyes flashed. Finally, there it was. Not guilt. Possession. You were disappearing with him, she said. Then you started disappearing into everyone else. Eli. Work. Your apartment. Your little routines. You didn't need me anymore. I stared at her. Rain tapped the window with delicate fingers. The refrigerator clicked off. For 1 second, the apartment was completely silent. Then Mara said, I was the one who came for you. I know. I was the one who stayed. I know. I was the one who knew what he did before you could even say it. Mara, I know you better than anyone. No, I said. You know where I'm wounded. She stepped closer. Not fast. Just close enough that my body remembered we had once shared beds during sleepovers, once whispered secrets into pillows, once been safe. That is what knowing means, she said. My pune was in my hunt. No signal. Of course. She had installed something. Blocker, jammer, whatever name belonged to that kind of violation. The Wi-Fi had dropped too. But my laptop was open on the counter, and Mara, for once, was focused on being understood. I moved slowly, like fear had made me clumsy. You don't want me scared, I said. Her face softened. No. Then let me sit. Of course. I sat at the counter, opened the laptop, and pretended to look through the screenshots. My hands shook. Not acting. While she spoke, I plugged in the burner phone and watched the folder appear. Messages, audio, schedules, drafts. One open document titled Reintegration Plan. It had phases: isolation, destabilization, attachment correction, dependency restoration. Under final notes, she had written, Liv responds best to calm voice, familiar nickname, shared history, fear of memory failure. My stomach turned. I clicked send on an email draft I made without looking like I was making one. To Tessa from work. Subject, call police now. Attached, everything. Mara saw the screen change. Her expression went blank. What did you send? I stood. She moved toward the laptop. I grabbed my keys and ran. Down the hall. Past the peeling wallpaper. Down 3 flights of stairs, my socks slipping on worn wood. Behind me, her footsteps followed. Not frantic. Not loud. Steady. Mara, stop, I said without turning. She answered softly. You're panicking. You always run when you think someone is leaving first. That sentence almost stopped me. Because it was true. Because truth can be used like a hook. I reached the street and burst into rain. Cold air hit my face. Neon from the pharmacy painted the pavement blue. Cars hissed past. Somewhere down the block, distant music leaked from a bar, soft jazz warped by weather. Mara caught up near the closed bookstore. She grabbed my sleeve. Not hard, but enough. I turned and shouted for help. A couple under an umbrella stopped. A man at the bus shelter looked over. Mara let go instantly. Her face changed into concern. She's having a panic attack, she said. Calm. Plausible. Devastating. I'm not, I said, but my voice shook. Sirens answered before anyone could decide which woman to believe. Tessa had called. The police arrived with wet jackets, radios crackling, blue lights spreading across the rain. Mara did not run. She stood under the awning, hands folded, looking tired and sad and heartbreakingly innocent. For a moment, I thought she might still convince them. Then my phone buzzed. Everyone's did. A scheduled text from Mara's number, sent to me, to Tessa, to Ben, to an old group chat, to numbers I did not recognize. Mara asterisk, if she leaves me, she will forget who she is. One of the officers looked at her. Mara closed her eyes, as if disappointed in the timing. Not the crime. The investigation lasted months. They found devices in my apartment. Audio recorders. A hidden camera inside a smoke detector. Remote access software on my laptop. Draft folders. Fake profiles. AI voice tools. Burner phones. A spreadsheet of my moods, sleep, texts, purchases, and responses to specific phrases. They found other names too. Not victims in the same way. Practice runs. People Mara had tested online. Support groups. trauma forums, women leaving relationships, lonely people rebuilding themselves in public where strangers could watch. She had not always used her real name. Sometimes she was Eli, sometimes a concerned friend, sometimes a woman named Claire who commented under posts at 2 a.m. with perfect empathy. She was not trying to destroy me, the detective said, as if that mattered. She was trying to own the role of safety so completely that I could not survive without her. That was destruction by another name. I saw Mara once before the trial. Not alone. Through glass. She wore a gray sweater and no makeup. She looked younger. Almost like the girl I met in 7th grade, passing me half her sandwich because I had forgotten lunch. For a second, grief took over everything. Then she spoke. Livy. No. She stopped. My name is Olivia. Her mouth trembled. I was scared you'd leave me behind. I looked at her for a long time. You made fear my house and called it friendship. Her eyes filled. I loved you. I believed her. That was the worst part. Not all love is safe. Some love is hunger with a familiar face. Some love does not want you alive. It wants you available. I left before she could say anything else. Now, almost a year later, I still live above the bookstore. I changed the locks, the phone, the passwords, the therapist, the cafe, the habits she knew too well. The city remains the same. Rain on windows, neon in puddles, soft jazz rising from somewhere below. The refrigerator humming in the dark like a machine that has never cared about human grief. Sometimes my phone buzzes late at night, and my body becomes that old apartment again. Mara beside me, Mara across from me, Mara in my screen. Mara saying do not trust her, so I would trust her more. I have learned that betrayal is not always a stranger breaking in. Sometimes it is a friend holding the door open for years, smiling, waiting for you to call that access love. Privacy is not secrecy. It is oxygen. Trust is not someone knowing every hidden room inside you. Trust is someone who could enter and chooses not to. Obsession does not always announce itself as control. Sometimes it sounds like concern. Sometimes it brings soup. Sometimes it uses your childhood nickname in the exact voice that once saved you. Memory is fragile, yes, but it is not public property. My story belongs to me now. Not because no one can distort it. They can. People can spoof numbers, clone voices, build fake tenderness from real wounds. They can study your fear until they know which door you will run through. But they cannot become the truth unless you surrender the right to name what happened. So I keep naming it, quietly, carefully, again and again. She texted me from across the room, and for a while I doubted my own eyes. Now I do not. Now, when something inside me whispers that safety should not feel like surveillance, I listen. Because boundaries are not proof that love failed. They are proof that I survived it. Story 4. The bracelet was still on my wrist when I woke up. That was the first proof. Not the headache. Not the mud on my shoes. Not the smell of rain and smoke in my hair. The bracelet. A thin band of black fabric with a silver clasp I did not recognize, pulled tight enough to leave a red mark beneath it. No logo. No event name. Just a small white number printed near the seam. 17. I lay in bed staring at it while the radiator clicked against the wall and the refrigerator hummed in the kitchen. Rain tapped the window. Soft. Patient. The city outside my studio apartment was still dark, though my phone said it was 9:12 a.m. Neon from the pharmacy sign across the street trembled in the puddles below. A bus hissed at the curb. Somewhere in the building, someone's floorboards creaked once and went silent. I remembered a house. Music. A woman in a green dress smiling at me from the stairs. A room full of people speaking too softly. And then nothing. Not sleep. Not a blackout exactly. A missing corridor. I touched the bracelet again. My skin went cold. I had gone to a party, but by morning, no one else remembered it. I moved to the city after Theo left. That is the clean version. The truth was less elegant. Theo did not leave so much as slowly remove himself while making me feel responsible for the empty space. He stopped touching me first, then stopped answering directly, then began using phrases like emotional intensity and your version of events. By the end, I had become fluent in apologizing for needing evidence. Scam shots, dates, receipts, proof that I had not invented being hurt. When he finally moved out, he took the good coffee machine and left behind a silence that seemed to breathe in the corners of the apartment. I changed cities because staying felt like living inside an old argument. My new place was above a closed tailor shop on Large Street. One room, one window, thin walls, pipes that clicked at night, a bathroom fan that buzzed like a trapped insect. I worked mornings at a legal filing office and evenings at a cafe called St. June, where the lamps were amber and the speakers played soft jazz under the sound of rain on glass. That was where I met her, Mara Vale. She came in during a storm, wearing a long gray coat and no makeup, her hair wet at the ends. She ordered black tea and sat beside the window with a paperback she never opened. I noticed her because she seemed comfortable being alone. That was rare. I was still performing it. She smiled when I brought her tea. "You look like you listen for exits," she said. I froze. Then she added gently, "I do too." I should have been unsettled. Instead, I felt seen. That was how she entered. Not loudly, not romantically, not like danger, like understanding. Over the next few weeks, Mara became a familiar shape in my life. She came into the cafe on rainy evenings, always took the same table, always left a clean folded napkin under her cup. She asked careful questions. Not what happened to you. Never that. She asked what helped me sleep, what music made a room feel less empty, whether I preferred crowded places because silence was worse, or silence because people were. "You're observant," I told her once. She looked at the rain sliding down the window. "No," she said. "I just know what loneliness teaches people to notice." I wanted to believe that. By then, I had also started talking to someone on a dating app. His name was Julian, not my ex. That felt like a bad joke, but I told myself names were not omens. His profile showed a man in a dark coat outside a bookstore. Kind eyes, slight smile, no obvious performance. His first message was, "You look like someone who keeps old messages for proof." I stared at it so long my tea went cold. Then I replied, "That specific?" He wrote back, "Some people survive by archiving." I should have deleted him. Instead, I answered. Julian became a voice in my phone. Warm, low, a little tired. He sent voice notes after midnight, when my apartment was quiet except for the fridge hum and rain on the fire escape. "You don't have to make your pain presentable," he said once. I played it twice, then a third time. I told myself it was fine. People could be kind. People could be perceptive. Not every accurate sentence was a trap. I wanted to believe that. The party invitation came from Mara on a Thursday night. St. June was nearly empty. Rain blurred the street. The windows reflected the cafe back at itself. Yellow lamps, empty chairs, my own face pale behind the counter. Mara waited until I brought her tea. "I'm going somewhere tomorrow," she said. "A small gathering. Old house near Ashbury Park." I wiped my hands on my apron. "I don't really do parties." "It's not that kind." "What kind is it?" She smiled. "The kind where people don't ask who you were before you arrived." That line stayed with me, because I was tired of being a woman with context. Tired of explaining why sudden footsteps made me flinch. Tired of becoming a story before becoming a person. Mara wrote the address on the back of a receipt. Her handwriting was elegant. Too elegant for a cafe receipt. "Come if you want," she said. "Leave if you need." The next evening, the city was cold and wet. Rain moved through the streets in silver curtains. Neon signs spilled red and violet across the pavement. People hurried under umbrellas with their faces turned down. My phone buzzed in my coat pocket as I walked toward Ashbury Park. "Julian, you're going out tonight." "That's good. Asterisk asterisk." I stopped beneath an awning. Water dripped from the edge in steady little taps. "How do you know?" The three dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared. "You said Mara invited you." I had not. I scrolled up. No mention. Maybe I had typed it and deleted it. Maybe I had thought about typing it. Maybe I was overthinking. I told myself it made sense. The house stood at the end of a narrow street lined with bare trees and parked cars shining with rain. It was old. Victorian, maybe. Tall windows. Black iron gate. Ivy crawling over brick like veins. No music from outside. No laughter. Only rain. A woman opened the door before I knocked. Mara. Green dress. Bare feet. Hair pinned loosely at her neck. "You came," she said. She sounded pleased. Not surprised. Inside, the house smelled of wood polish, damp coats, and something sweet I could not place. Candles burned along the hallway. Jazz played somewhere deeper inside. A slow piano. A soft brush on drums. There were maybe 20 people. All quiet. All adults. Young enough to be searching. Old enough to be tired of admitting it. A man in a navy sweater stood by the fireplace, staring into his drink. A woman with silver earrings touched the same necklace over and over. A couple sat together but did not speak. Everyone wore a bracelet. Black fabric. Silver clasp. Mara fastened one around my wrist. "Just for entry," she said. "What happens if I leave?" "Then it proves you were here." I laughed because I thought she was making a joke. She did not laugh. The party was strange. Not frightening at first. Just arranged. People spoke in low voices. No one asked what I did for work. No one used last names. Phones were placed in a wooden box near the door because Mara said the house had a no recording rule. That should have been enough. But I was trying to become someone who accepted invitations. Someone less afraid. Someone new. I put my phone in the box. A man handed me a glass of something pale and sparkling. I did not finish it. I remember that clearly. I think I remember it clearly. Mara led me from room to room. A library with rain ticking against tall windows. A dining room where candles trembled in a draft. A narrow hallway lined with old photographs of strangers. In one room, people sat in a circle while soft jazz played from a speaker hidden somewhere behind the curtains. Mara stood beside me. "You're safe here," she said. My body wanted that sentence. It wanted it badly enough to ignore how carefully it had been placed. Then impossible things began. A woman I had never met touched my arm and said, "You're Nora, right?" "Theo's Nora?" I pulled back. "How do you know Theo?" She blinked as if waking. "I don't. You just said his name." "Did I?" She looked frightened. Mara appeared beside us. "People mishear things in old houses," she said calmly. I wanted to believe that. Later, a man by the stairs hummed a song my mother used to sing while washing dishes. Not famous, not common, a small Albanian lullaby she had learned from her grandmother and passed to me in a kitchen full of steam. I asked him where he knew it. He smiled vaguely. "Mara played it earlier." I looked at Mara. She was across the room watching me. My phone buzzed from the wooden box by the door. Once, twice, no one moved. Then the house lights flickered. A floorboard creaked upstairs. Someone laughed softly in another room. I remember Mara's hand on my shoulder. Cool fingers. A gentle pressure. "You're doing well," she whispered. "Doing what?" "Staying." After that, the night becomes broken. Images. Not scenes. Rain streaking a window. My own reflection in dark glass. Mara's green dress at the top of the stairs. A camera lens hidden inside a smoke detector. Someone crying quietly in a bathroom. A voice note playing from a speaker. Julian's voice. Warm. Low. "You don't have to leave, Nora." Then my own voice answering. "I know. Except I had not said it. Or I do not think I had." Then nothing. I woke in my bed with the bracelet on my wrist. My phone was on the floor beside my shoes. Dead. When it turned on, messages flooded in. Work. Spam. A weather alert. Nothing from Mara. Nothing from Julian. I called the woman from the party whose number I remembered because she had typed it into my notes app before the phones went into the box. Her name was Elsie. She answered on the 5th ring. "Who is this?" "It's Nora. From last night." Silence. "What?" "The party. At the house." Another pause. I didn't go to a party. You wore silver earrings. You asked about Theo. Her breathing changed. I don't know anyone named Theo. You were there. I was home. Check your wrist. A longer silence. Then a small sound. Not a gasp. Something more controlled. I have to go. She hung up. I messaged 3 others from numbers saved in my phone. None remembered. One said he had been working. Another said she had never met me. The third blocked me after I sent a photo of the bracelet. By noon, the address Mara had given me led nowhere. Not literally. The house was there. But when I stood outside it in daylight, rainwater dripping from the gutters, it looked abandoned. Boards over 2 windows. A rusted gate. No candles. No music. No sign of a party. A neighbor sweeping wet leaves from his steps said no one had lived there in years. I showed him Mara's photo from the cafe. He barely glanced. Never seen her. At St. June, the staff group chat had no memory of Mara either. My coworker Lena frowned when I asked, "The quiet woman by the window? What quiet woman? She came in every week." Lena shook her head slowly. "Nora, you usually worked alone those nights." The cafe seemed to shrink around me. Espresso machine hissing. Rain on glass. Soft jazz from the speaker. My own reflection in the window looking less certain than the world around it. I checked the security footage from the cafe. The files from the nights Mara visited were corrupted. Only those nights. A gray blur where her table should have been. I heard Theo's voice in my head. "Your version of events." My phone buzzed. "Julian, don't let them make you doubt the bracelet." I stared at the message. Then another arrived. "It's evidence. Keep it dry. Asterisk asterisk." My hands went cold. I had not told him about the bracelet. I opened his profile. Reverse image search. Nothing. Then I checked the audio metadata from his voice notes. No phone model. No location. Generated files. Edited. Compressed through an app one did not recognize. Julian was not real. Julian was a voice built to comfort me into compliance. And Mara had known exactly which voice I would let near me. I took the bracelet to a phone repair shop because the owner advertised data recovery and camera installation. His name was Cameron, and he looked at the clasp under a magnifying lamp while rain tapped against the shop window. "This isn't just fabric," he said. "What is it?" "RFID tag. Tiny chip. Maybe Bluetooth too. Like tracking. Like event access. Or tracking. Depends who controls the system." He scanned it. A number appeared on his laptop. 17, Nora Vale, active. Vale. Mara's last name. Not mine. "I'm not Vale," I said. Cameron looked at me carefully. "No, but someone put you in their system." That night, I did not go home. I sat in St. June until closing, watching rain turn the windows black. Every reflection looked like a witness who might later deny me. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. A voice note. I did not press play. It played anyway. Through my headphones. Mara's voice. Soft. Close. "You were easier when you wanted to be understood." I tore the earbuds out. The cafe went silent around me. Then the speaker overhead crackled. Not the cafe music. A different audio source. Julian's voice filled the room. "Nora, breathe. You're safe with her." Lena looked up from the counter. What the hell was that? For the first time all day, someone else had heard it. That saved me. Not completely, but enough. We called the police from the cafe. I gave them the bracelet, the corrupted footage, the fake profile, the generated voice notes, Cameron scan results, the address. This time, I did not lead with fear. I led with unauthorized tracking, identity misuse, digital impersonation, possible drugging, surveillance, words the world understood better than violation. They searched the old house the next evening. I was not supposed to go. I went anyway, sitting in the back of a patrol car while rain moved through the street and blue lights flashed against the boarded windows. Inside, they found the party, not as it had been, but underneath it. The house was abandoned on the surface. Dust, broken plaster, empty rooms. In the basement, behind a false wall, there was a second space. Clean, soundproofed, wired. A server rack hummed in the corner. Monitors glowed with feeds from hidden cameras. Shelves held black bracelets in numbered trays. There were photos on the walls. People entering the house. People smiling in candlelight. People sleeping with their heads tilted back, faces slack and vulnerable. No graphic violence. No blood. That almost made it worse. The harm was clinical, curated, labeled. Each person had a folder. Name, nickname, breakup history, social media archive, voice samples, weakness profile, predicted compliance. Mine was number 17. Nora, recent separation, high archival behavior, responds to validation, distrusts own memory when challenged. I read that later in the police report. I wish I had not. They found Mara in an upstairs room that had looked empty from the street. She was sitting in a chair by the window, wearing the green dress, watching rain beat against the glass. No attempt to run. No panic. People like her do not imagine themselves being caught, only interrupted. When they brought her down the steps, she saw me behind the patrol car window and smiled. Small, almost affectionate. "You remembered," she said through the rain. I opened the door before the officer could stop me. My voice came out steady. "You made sure I would." Mara tilted her head. "That's not fair. You put a tracker on me. I gave you proof. You drugged people. I softened resistance. You erased records. I protected the room. You built Julian." Her expression changed at that. "Pride, maybe. He helped you arrive. He was fake. He was accurate." "No," I said. "He was theft." For the first time, her face hardened. "You came because you wanted someone to know you without making you explain." Rain ran down her cheeks like tears she did not own. "I offered that. You harvested it." Behind her, an officer found a phone in her coat, still recording. Later, they traced Mara's real name to Elena Ward, though even that may not have been the first. She had worked in marketing psychology, then behavioral research, then disappeared after an internal investigation at a wellness app. Data misuse, improper user contact, boundary violations, clean phrases, sterile phrases, phrases that make predators sound like paperwork problems. She had hosted at least 6 parties in 3 cities, not always in houses, sometimes rented lofts, sometimes abandoned offices dressed up with candles and music. She targeted people in transition, divorce, grief, relocation, recovery, people whose lives had already become difficult to verify. The party guests had not truly forgotten, not entirely. Their memories had been blurred by stress, alcohol, tampered drinks, phone isolation, and the simple terror of being told nothing had happened. Mara counted on shame, on uncertainty, on the human need to accept the easiest explanation. "I am tired. I imagined it. I misunderstood. I wanted attention." She did not erase memory. She made memory lonely. That was more realistic, and much crueler. The bracelet came off in an evidence room. It left a pale band on my wrist. For weeks, I touched that place as if the clasp were still there. I stopped going to St. June, not because of Mara, because every cafe window had become a mirror. Every soft song felt selected. Every attentive stranger seemed to know too much too quickly. Healing narrowed before it widened. That is what no one tells you. Survival does not immediately make the world bigger. At first, it makes everything small enough to inspect. Locks, receipts, names, file details, reflections in windows, the tone of a question, the time between messages. I deleted the dating app. Then later, months later, I opened one again. Not because I was brave, because I refused to let her define every door. Now, when it rains, I sometimes remember the old house. The candles, the green dress, the music soft enough to hide machinery. I remember waking with proof attached to my body. I remember calling strangers who denied standing beside me. And I understand something I wish I had known before. Memory is not only what happened, it is what survives being doubted. Trust is not the person who knows your pain before you speak. Privacy is not secrecy. Boundaries are not walls against love. They are the shape love must respect to be real. There are people who study loneliness like a map. People who learn your old names, your favorite songs, your weak hours, your abandoned posts, your deleted grief. They do not always want to kill you. Sometimes they want something quieter. To become the author of what you remember. To stand inside your uncertainty and call it intimacy. But my name is still mine. My wrist is bare now. And when rain taps the window at night, I listen. Not for her. Not for Julian. For myself. For the small, steady voice beneath fear that says, I was there. I remember. And that is enough. Story 5. The first time I noticed Lena copying me, it felt almost sweet. We were sitting in a narrow cafe on Mercer Street, the kind of place that looked better in rain. Neon from the laundromat across the road trembled blue and pink on the windows. Soft jazz leaked from a speaker above the counter. Cups clicked. The espresso machine hissed like a tired animal. Lena came in wearing my sweater. Not actually mine. The same one. Charcoal wool. 3 buttons at the collar. Slightly too long in the sleeves. I laughed when I saw her. Are we twins now? She looked down at herself, then smiled. Oh, I didn't even realize. That was Lena's gift. She made strange things feel accidental, natural, harmless. I had met her 3 months after my breakup with Marcus, when I was still learning how to enter rooms without apologizing for taking up space. Marcus had not ruined me loudly. He did it with corrections. No, Nora, that isn't what happened. No, Nora, you're remembering it wrong. No, Nora, people are worried about you. By the time I left, I had become careful with reality. I saved messages, took screenshots, replayed conversations alone in bed while the refrigerator hummed and rain tapped the apartment windows. Then Lena appeared, a friend of a friend at a birthday dinner I almost canceled. She had calm gray eyes and a soft voice. She listened without rushing to be useful. When I stumbled over words, she waited. When I made a joke out of something painful, she did not laugh too quickly. After dinner, she walked with me through cold city streets slick with rain. You don't have to make yourself easier to understand, she said. I remember stopping under a pharmacy sign, red neon bleeding across her face. No one had ever said that to me before, so I let her in. That was how these things happen. Not through stupidity, through hunger. Lena learned my life gently. My coffee order, my bus route, the songs I played when I could not sleep, the way I twisted my ring finger, even though the ring was gone. She knew I hated lilies because Marcus once sent them after a fight, pretending apology could smell expensive. She knew I used the name Nora Vale professionally, though my legal surname was still tangled in court paperwork. She knew my mother called me Birdie when I was little. I did not remember telling her that, but I told myself I must have. I wanted to believe it. Loneliness makes memory generous. The second copy came 2 weeks later. Her hair. Lena had always worn hers short, tucked behind one ear. Then she arrived at my apartment with it cut to my length, parted the way mine fell naturally when I forgot to style it. She stood in the doorway holding takeout soup, rain shining on her coat. Too much? She asked, touching the ends. I forced a smile. No, it looks good. It's inspired by you, she said lightly. You make softness look survivable. That should have sounded flattering. It did, almost. The apartment behind me hummed with evening quiet. The fridge, the radiator, a siren far away, music through the wall from my neighbor, some old jazz record with scratches in it. Lena stepped inside and removed her shoes exactly where I removed mine, toes facing the door, ready to leave. I noticed, then felt ashamed for noticing. Maybe I was overthinking. We ate on the floor because my table was covered in legal documents and half-finished freelance work. Lena watched me sign a form. You make your N like a hook, she said. I looked up. What? Your handwriting. It's pretty. Messy. No, she smiled. Distinct. 2 days later, I found a note in my mailbox. Forgot lunch. Don't skip eating. En asterisk. It was in my handwriting. Not close. Not similar. Mine. The hooked N. the narrow loops, the slight pressure at the end of each word. I stood in the lobby, fluorescent light buzzing overhead, wet umbrellas dripping into a plastic stand beside me. For a full minute, I thought I had written it. That was how good it was. Then my phone buzzed. Lena, left you a note. Practicing your handwriting. Don't be mad. It's a weird hidden talent. Asterisk asterisk. Practicing. A normal word. A playful word. I should have been angry. Instead, I felt relieved she had explained it before I had to accuse her. That relief embarrassed me. I texted back. It's creepy but impressive. She replied instantly. Only creepy if I use it for evil. A joke. A small one. I laughed. I told myself it made sense. Friends borrowed things. Mannerisms. Phrases. Clothes. It was intimacy. Influence. Closeness. Women had been mirroring each other forever. Then she started using my voice. At first, it was harmless. She repeated my expressions. Soft emergency. That was mine. I used it for small disasters. Bad hair. Burnt toast. A deadline. Then she picked up my pauses. My laugh. The way I said, I'm fine too quickly when I was not. One night, we sat in my kitchen while rain ticked against the windows and the stove clock glowed 1:13 a.m. She was making tea. Chamomile. Honey. 2 slices of ginger. The way my grandmother made it. I had never shown her that. She placed the mug in front of me and said, in my exact tone, "Drink before it gets sad." I froze. She laughed. What? That sounded like me. I spend too much time with you. Her smile was warm. Too warm. I looked down at the tea. Steam moved in small ghosts. Did I tell you about ginger? She leaned against the counter. You always forget what you tell me. The sentence landed softly. Precisely. Like Marcus. I looked up. Lena's face changed at once. Concern. Apology. Perfectly timed. I didn't mean that badly. I know. And I did know. Or wanted to. That night, after she left, I checked my social media. I found a new account using my photo. Same name. Same profile picture. Same bio almost. Mine said, writer. Recovering from certainty. Coffee, rain, unfinished drafts. Asterisk asterisk. The new one said, writer. Recovering certainty. Coffee, rain, unfinished drafts. Asterisk asterisk. One missing word. Enough to feel like a reflection with a pulse. I reported it. The platform responded within minutes. We could not verify impersonation. Then my own account logged me out. Password changed. Recovery email updated. Phone number removed. I sat on my bed in the blue dark while my laptop screen reflected my face back at me. Then my phone buzzed. A voice note from Lena. I pressed play. My own voice filled the room. I think someone is pretending to be me. My blood went cold. It sounded exactly like me. My breath. My tiredness. The little crack in the word pretending. But I had not said it. Then Lena's real voice came after. Soft. Careful. Nora, don't panic. Call me. I called her. She answered on the first ring. I saw the account, she said. How? You sent me the voice note. No, I didn't. A pause. Rain tapped harder against the glass. Nora, she said gently, you did. I didn't. Okay. That word. Okay. The way people say it when they are agreeing with the emotion, not the facts. I'm not confused. I didn't say you were. You're talking like I am. I'm talking like I love you. I closed my eyes. There was no defense against a sentence like that when you were lonely. Lena came over with her laptop and helped me recover my email. She sat beside me on the couch, shoulder warm against mine, her hair smelling faintly of my shampoo. My shampoo. Same citrus and cedar scent. I had bought it from a tiny store 2 neighborhoods away. She saw me notice. It's nice, she said. You always smell like rain and wood. You bought it? I wanted to understand the appeal. Understand. Not try. Not copy. Understand. The next week, people started calling her Nora. At first, strangers. A barista handed her my order before I arrived. Black coffee, no sugar. Then my downstairs neighbor waved at her and said, "Morning, Nora." Lena laughed about it. "We really do look alike now." We did not. Not really. But she was getting closer. Hair, clothes, posture, makeup, my silver hoop earrings, my gray coat, the red scarf my sister gave me. Then she got the small things. The way I stood slightly angled in photos. The way I tucked my thumb under my fingers when anxious. The way I lowered my voice in conflict because Marcus had taught me that volume would be used against me. Lena did not imitate my appearance. She imitated my injuries. That was when fear became physical. A coldness behind the ribs, a tightening in the throat, a sense that someone had entered a room inside me without opening the door. I started recording everything. Screenshots, videos, call logs, photos of my closet, emails forwarded to a backup account. I wrote timestamps in a notebook. Tuesday, 8:12 p.m., Lena wearing my scarf. Claimed I gave it to her. I did not. Asterisk asterisk. Wednesday, 10:33 a.m., new profile replied to my editor. Tone similar to mine. Declined assignment. Asterisk asterisk. Thursday, 1:04 a.m., voice note from my number to Marcus saying I missed him. Not sent by me. Asterisk asterisk. That last one almost broke me. Marcus texted after midnight. Please don't do this, Nora. You said you wanted distance. Asterisk asterisk. I stared at the message while the refrigerator hummed in the dark kitchen. My phone buzzed again. An audio file. My voice. Soft. Intimate. Humiliated. I miss you. I think I made everything up. I threw the phone onto the counter. The sound cracked through the apartment. A door closed somewhere upstairs. Footsteps moved above me. Slow. Ordinary. I wanted to believe this was hacking. Just hacking. Something technical. Something clean. But it felt personal, because it knew exactly which sentence would hurt me most. I went to the police the next morning. The officer listened with professional patience. I showed the fake accounts, the voice notes, the password resets. He asked, "Do you have proof your friend is behind it?" "She copies everything about me." "That's not illegal." "She has my voice. AI tools are accessible now. Could be anyone." "It's her. Why would she do this?" I had no answer that sounded sane. Because she wants to become me. Because she knows my childhood nickname. Because she wears my wounds better than I do. Because everyone believes her calm before they believe my fear. He told me to document everything. I almost smiled. Documentation was what people asked for when they did not want to stand close to your panic. When I came home, Lena was waiting outside my apartment door. She wore my gray coat, my red scarf, my silver earrings. For one breath, in the reflection of the hallway window, I saw myself standing there. Then she turned. "Nora," she said, in my voice. Not exactly. Worse. Intentionally close. I felt the floor tilt. "How did you get in?" "You gave me a key." "No, I didn't." Her expression softened. "You did. After the night you couldn't stop crying. I remembered that night. Rain. Wine. Legal papers. Her hand on my back. Had I given her a key? No. Maybe. No. My memory flashed white. She stepped closer. "I'm worried about you." "Stop saying that. You're sending strange messages. Your editor called me." "Why would my editor call you?" "Because you told her to." "I didn't." Lena pulled out her phone and played a recording. My voice again. Lena handles my schedule when I'm overwhelmed. She's basically me at this point. I had never said that, but my voice had. My face went numb. "You're doing this." She looked hurt. It was a beautiful performance. A wounded friend. A stable witness. "I know Marcus damaged your trust," she said, "but you can't make me into him just because I stayed." I hated her for saying his name. I hated myself because part of me still wondered if she was right. That is the deepest violence of being doubted for too long. Your abuser leaves. The judge remains. The next phase was social. Quiet. Efficient. Friends stopped responding. My sister answered my calls with careful distance. "Are you with Lena?" I asked her. A pause. Nora, she sent us screenshots. What screenshots? Messages from you. Saying you were scared you might accuse her of things. Saying you were spiraling. I didn't send those. I want to believe you. Want. Not believe. Want. My sister exhaled. She also sent voice notes. I closed my eyes. Outside, rain blurred the windows. Neon trembled across the ceiling. A siren moved through the cold street and faded. What did I say? That you didn't feel real. I sat down on the floor because my legs stopped being useful. Lena had not only copied me, she had prepared everyone to doubt the original. At work, my editor replaced me on a project because I had emailed saying I needed time for treatment. My bank flagged my account because I had logged in from a new device and changed security questions. My dating app profile reappeared, verified with a video prompt. The woman in the video was Lena, wearing my sweater, speaking in my voice, turning her head the way I did when nervous. The caption read, "Just trying to feel like myself again." I watched it in a cafe bathroom with my back against the locked door, one hand over my mouth. From the main room came soft jazz, cups clinking, rain tapping glass. The world continued. That felt obscene. I started following her. I know how that sounds. But by then, my life had become a crime scene no one else could see. I followed her through wet streets and reflected windows, keeping distance, hood up, phone recording in my pocket. She met a man outside an office building, then a woman in a black coat, then a young guy who handed her a padded envelope. Burner phones. I knew before I saw them. That night, I searched deeper. Old usernames, reverse image searches, archived pages. The fake account had used a recovery email, veil.archive at Proton Mail. That led nowhere. But one of Lena's old tagged photos led to another name. Mira Cole, then another. Sophie Wynn, then another. Rachel Ivers. Each identity came with a best friend. Each best friend had posted something similar before vanishing from public life. Someone is pretending to be me. My accounts are compromised. Please ignore weird messages. Then silence. No death. No dramatic disappearance. Something quieter. Careers ended. Relationships broken. Reputations softened into instability. I found one woman, Sophie, through an old professional directory. I sent a message from a new email. "Did you know someone named Lena Hart?" She replied 6 hours later. "Do not meet her alone." Then, "That isn't her name." We spoke on a voice call just after midnight. I sat on my kitchen floor with the lights off. The refrigerator hummed beside me. Rain tapped the window. My phone was wrapped in a towel because I no longer trusted its cameras. Sophie's voice trembled when she said, "She doesn't want your life." Not exactly. What does she want? To prove she can wear it better. My throat closed. "She studies women after trauma," Sophie said. "Divorce, grief, abuse, burnout, anyone rebuilding identity. She becomes safe first, then necessary, then credible. By the time you accuse her, she has already taught everyone that you're unreliable." "Why?" A long silence. Then Sophie said, "Because she was no one before she learned how to become someone else." The next morning, Lena sent me a calendar invite. Subject, conversation. Closure, asterisk asterisk. Location, Mercer Cafe. The cafe where we first became friends. I almost didn't go. Then I thought of Sophie, of Rachel, of all the women turned into warnings no one read. So I went, but not alone. My sister waited across the street in her car. Sophie joined the call on my laptop from another state. My lawyer had the files. The police officer who had dismissed me received everything from 3 separate emails because I no longer believed in single points of failure. And I wore a hidden recorder clipped inside my coat. Mercer Cafe looked the same. Rain on windows. Neon reflections. Soft jazz. People bent over laptops, faces lit blue and tired. Lena sat in the corner booth. My booth. She wore my clothes again. Charcoal sweater. Red scarf. Silver hoops. Her hair fell like mine. Her mouth moved like mine. For a second, I felt the sick pull of the mirror. Then she smiled. "Nora," she said. "Not my voice now. Hers. The original mask." I sat across from her. "You can stop." She tilted her head. "Stop what? You're not me." "No," she said softly. "But people seem relieved when I answer for you." I felt my hands curl under the table. "You stole my accounts. You abandoned them emotionally before I touched them. You cloned my voice. You gave it away. Voice notes, videos, calls. People think the internet forgets because they do. You turned my family against me. I gave them a version of you that made sense." I looked at her. Really looked. There was no madness in her face. That would have been easier. There was patience, craft, belief. "You've done this before," I said. Her smile thinned. "People repeat patterns. I help reveal them. You ruin lives. I refine them." I almost laughed. "You sound like a branding consultant." That irritated her. "Good." Her fingers tightened around her cup. "You think identity is sacred because yours was damaged. But identity is mostly behavior. Tone, timing, history, access. If I know your passwords, your posture, your grief, your favorite song, your old wounds, and your mother's nickname for you, what makes you more you than me?" The cafe noise seemed to recede. Rain, jazz, a spoon against glass. My heart beat. I leaned forward. Consent. For the first time, she blinked too slowly. I continued. "You can copy my handwriting, my clothes, my voice. You can steal my accounts and teach people to doubt me. But you still have to hide to do it." Her eyes shifted to my coat. She knew. Of course she knew. "You're recording," she said. "Yes." She smiled again, but now there was something brittle in it. "You think evidence restores identity?" "No," I said, "but it helps police understand crimes." Her phone buzzed. Then mine. Then the cafe's front door opened. 2 officers stepped inside. My sister entered behind them, pale and furious. Lena looked toward the window. For 1 second, I thought she might run. Instead, she picked up her coffee and took a small sip. Elegant, controlled. The officers asked her name. She gave mine. "Nora Vale," she said calmly. My stomach turned even though I expected it. One officer looked at me, then at her. Lena smiled with my mouth. "She's been impersonating me for weeks," she said. "She needs help." My sister stepped forward. "No." That one word saved something in me. The officers found 3 phones in Lena's bag. 2 IDs. One with her photo and my name. A notebook filled with handwriting samples. Printed transcripts of my voice notes. Password lists. Recovery codes. A silicone fingerprint mold taken from a glass I had used at her apartment. Later, police searched her storage unit. They found wigs, clothes, burner phones, external drives, files labeled with names. Mine, Sophie's, Rachel's, others. Each folder held a life reduced to systems. Speech patterns, trauma triggers, friend networks, financial weaknesses, phrases to use under pressure. Mine included: primary destabilizer, memory invalidation. Useful phrase, you told me that already. Maternal nickname, Birdie. Deploy sparingly, asterisk asterisk. Deploy, as if tenderness were ammunition. Lena's real name was not Lena Hart. It was Elise Merrow. She had been arrested once under another name, but the charges collapsed after the victim was described as unreliable. That word followed women like smoke. Unreliable, emotional, confused, difficult. Words that made theft look like concern. Before they took her from the cafe, Lena turned to me. Her expression softened one final time. The first face. The safe face. "You'll miss me," she said. "No, you will. I knew you better than anyone." I looked at her then. Rain reflected across the window behind her, turning the cafe into a room underwater. "You knew where to cut," I said. "That isn't the same as knowing me." Her face went still. Then she was gone. The legal process moved slowly. Real life is not cinematic that way. There was no instant restoration. My accounts took months to recover. Some friends apologized too late. Some did not apologize at all. My editor gave me work again, but used careful phrases, as if I were a vase repaired with visible glue. My sister cried when she admitted she had doubted me. I told her I understood. I did. That hurt more, because Lena had not only stolen my image, she had weaponized reasonable caution. She had made disbelief look responsible. I moved apartments, changed my number, stopped sending voice notes. For a while, I bought clothes in colors I hated just because Lena had worn mine. Then one morning, rain tapped the window and the refrigerator hummed, and a jazz song came faintly from a car passing below. I put on the charcoal sweater, not because I was healed, because it was mine. That mattered. Healing, I've learned, is not becoming untouched. It is reclaiming small rooms inside yourself. A sweater, a name, a voice, the right to sound like your own pain. Sometimes I still see myself in reflective windows and pause, not out of vanity, out of verification. In glass, in dark screens, in cafe windows after rain, I look for the border between image and self. People think being replaced means someone becomes you. It doesn't. No one can become you, but they can interfere with the witnesses. They can corrupt the records. They can stand close enough to your life that others mistake access for truth. That is what obsession wants. Not love, not intimacy. Control over the story told when you are not in the room. Trust, to me now, is not sameness. It is not someone finishing your sentences, or knowing your coffee order, or wearing your grief like a matching coat. Trust is a boundary respected without performance. Privacy is not secrecy. It is authorship, the right to decide what parts of you are shared and what parts remain yours alone. An identity is not a password, a voice, a face, or a name on an account. It is the quiet continuity no thief can hold for long, the memory beneath the imitation, the self that remains after every copy fails. Still, some nights, when my phone buzzes after midnight, I wait before touching it. I listen to the rain, the fridge, the city breathing below, and I remind myself, a reflection can follow you, a voice can mimic you, a stranger can learn the shape of your wounds. But no one becomes you simply because the world looks at them first.